Carl Sandburg was born in Galesburg, Illinois in 1878 to August and Clara Johnson. His family was extremely poor. Because of their financial instability, at the young age of 13, he left school to get a job to provide income for his family. Later in life, Sandburg served in the Spanish-American War, where someone encouraged Sandburg to enroll at Lombard College once he returned home. Once Sandburg returned home, he decided to enroll at Lombard, where Sandburg met Professor Philip Green Wright. Despite Sandburg not having a strong early education, Wright saw potential in Sandburg and encouraged Sandburg to continue writing. Not only did Wright encourage Sandburg, but he also paid for Sandburg's first volume of poetry. Once his first volume of poetry was published, Sandburg's poems began being published in newspapers and magazines. Carl Sandburg was an inspiration to young writers. Sandburg did not have a strong early education, and he had to overcome numerous complications. Despite these difficulties, Sandburg proved that you don't need an education to be a good writer. You need creativity. Sandburg served in the Spanish-American War for a total of 8 months. Prior to the war, Sandburg focused his writings and poems towards children. However, returning home from serving in the war, Sandburg began writing his poetry and stories for a more mature audience. The war changed Sandburg's perspective on life, as it showed him all the bad parts of the world. The poems Sandburg wrote after the war began reflecting his bad experiences in the war, focusing on political and economical problems. Sandburg didn't sugarcoat any of his poems. He wrote about what he wanted to, even if it included the ugly truth. Carl Sandburg's writing doesn't focus on one specific topic. Sandburg wrote his poems to leave space for the reader to read in between the lines, and to have their own perspective on his poetry and what it meant to them. Meaning, Sandburg's poems are great to interpret because everyone interprets Sandburg's poems in a different way. While reading one of his poems, Offense, I had to look deep into my own thoughts and use prior knowledge to decode the poem's hidden meaning. Once I decoded the poem, I realized how Sandburg felt towards certain topics, and I felt as if I was learning more about the real Carl Sandburg. Carl Sandburg's poems are unique, as they require the reader to think deeply and connect the passages back to their own life. Carl Sandburg's writings deserve to be taught in this curriculum because Carl Sandburg was a very inspirational person. He proved that you don't need an education to do good things. Nowadays, people think that you have to have a strong education to do good things and be successful, but Carl Sandburg proved that you don't. In addition to Sandburg being an inspirational person, Sandburg didn't sugarcoat his poems or his other writings. They showed the real truths of the world, even if it included terrible, terrible things. Lastly, Carl Sandburg's writings should be taught in the curriculum because his poems are great for literary interpretations. While reading Offense, I had to really read in between the lines and think about deeper topics, and this caused me to really start understanding Carl more as a person. Also, everybody interprets Sandburg's poems in different ways. Each poem has a different meaning to every person. Carl Sandburg is a great example of an American author, and his writings deserve to be taught in the curriculum.